What is going on, everyone? We're back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. I'm Clark Taylor. I'll be hosting today. We've got a huge day of professional wrestling on tap. And before we get to the Tuesday night one night war, or the battle, as I like to call it, we're going to break down Raw from last night. We're going to talk about a number of different wrestling topics tonight. This afternoon. It's going to be delightful. I've got an esteemed team of co-hosts with me today. I'm going to start first with, as I like to call him, the Tuesday night delight from the DMV, Shad Huda.
Yes,
first show of the day. We got two today, my friend.
Yes, sir. We doing doubles like we call Malone. I don't know, man.
In-N-Out burger.
Yeah, In-N-Out. Like, that's a good one too. But nah, man, I'm definitely, today is in the landscape of 2023 a monumental day for professional wrestling. We got a lot going on tonight, but I'm ready to talk about what happened last night. Great episode of Monday Night Raw, so let's get into it. And I don't really talk about Raw that much, so yeah.
Absolutely. We had a heck of a Raw last night, and I do believe this is your first Raw review episode, which I'm stoked about too.
Yes, sir.
And like you said, doubles. Carmelo, little Kevin Garnett, little In-N-Out. We got this today. Two shows, me and Shad. Tune into Off the Air after this at 7 o'clock tonight, Pacific, that is. But up next, we've got from the same area as me, good old Orange County, but an absolute legend in his own right, Crsip. How are you doing on this fine Tuesday, my friend?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm doing great. I feel like I've been booking Raw. I mean, they're using my PWG guys very well. I mean, it's just let me just remind everyone that this is a great time to be a wrestling fan. I mean, whether you're AEW or WWE, the fact that we have competition here, it's going head to head. We're getting a great product, so I'm stoked. I thought Raw was great last night. I'm going to only be able to catch one show tonight. I'll have to catch up on NXT after the fact. But I mean, we got Minoru Suzuki on a 4:30 Western chop, on the chopping block today. So I'm stoked.
That's going to be fun. It'll be Chopcella, right? I believe you said that earlier. Chopcella. That's going to be sweet. Can't wait. Before we get started, we got a few comments already out of the gates from our good friend Bobby Batito. It was great to see Xylee on Raw last night, looking at Becky Lynch's NXT Women's Championship since she's been on.
Since she's been on NXT. On main event. Yeah, my bad.
Absolutely. Xylee was awesome to see return last night. Anthony Manzano, #MOB with hi. Good to see you once again, Anthony. And then another one here from our good friend Bobby Batito. Raw was great. Totally agree.
Sir.
And one more before we get started here from Anthony Manzano. I'm still seeing this. I think what's going to happen is they're slowly turning Drew into a bad guy. They're going to call up Gallus and put him with Drew. That is an interesting idea. With that, though, let's get into our first subject. I was excited to show that one, Anthony. That's a great comment. Not that all the comments aren't great, Bobby. You're the man, too, as you know. But let's talk about the Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre encounter. This is something that I really enjoyed. This is something I called for. Drew isn't quite a heel yet, as Anthony Manzano mentioned in the comments, but it's getting closer. And this is the best possible matchup for Seth Rollins of anyone on this current Raw roster, whether we're following the rules or not. Shad, I'm going to toss it to you. How do you like the direction following last night's encounter between Seth and Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. I'm a firm believer is you got to utilize your primetime players and put them in primetime position. And that's what you have with a Drew McIntyre and a Seth Rollins. Both of these guys are, without a doubt, on top of the food chain, main event tier wrestlers. And you have that world title belt on the Monday Night Raw roster. You got to, sell us fans on a feud that's going to make us believe and want us to watch it. And this slow turn of, the heel Drew, or I guess at the moment, kind of a neutral Drew, and being more selfish than selfless has been great to see. I love just the whole idea of him not like seeing Seth get beat up in the ring or getting attacked and not even turn a bat of an eye. But as soon as Dom comes in, having that briefcase to cash in, he stops it and he chucked that, man. He was like Brett Favre in his prime, chucking that that briefcase across the entrance area. But I like it, man. I think this is what Drew McIntyre needed, and he deserves it. I mean, we like whether he becomes the one to beat Seth or not, that's to be determined. But Drew McIntyre, this was the MVP of the whole pandemic for the men's roster, besides Roman Reigns, and he's well deserved to be in a premier feud. I mean, he hasn't done a lot that's been as satisfying in regards to booking as of the last, I don't want to say like a year or so. See him in a lot of mid card titles, but he's back where he's supposed to be. And Seth Rollins is like, I mean, you saw the Wrestling Republic podcast polls. This guy's the most beloved wrestler. He's the best wrestler to people, and he's gonna make every storyline matter and every storyline count. The interaction that they had, what we're gonna see come up, I'm definitely excited for it.
Absolutely. I am as well. And I think this is, again, the best matchup we could make. Carter, what were your thoughts on Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre? And it looks like it's official, right, for Crown Jewel. I don't want to misspeak there.
Yes,
the match is official.
Official for Crown Jewel.
So we don't even need a contract signing. But Carter, what did you think about this one?
Completely agree with Shad. I mean, Drew McIntyre, I'm going to have trouble not saying Drew Galloway from my old PWG days. I mean, he's a grade A premium heavyweight contender. When he was on the screen, my dad walks by and he's just like, wow, that guy's huge. So, I mean, and Rollins too, just seeing how they kind of build up this secondary heavyweight championship. I actually think, all things considered, I know we were a little bit critical of the PLE Saturday. I think they're doing a pretty good job of booking it. And I love the storyline with Rollins. I can't stand the bloodline, and to see them get freaking clotheslined by their briefcase and to see it get chucked. I mean, it was beautiful. It reminds you of like how deep the storytelling is in wrestling, that they're making you just absolutely just hate these heels. And, it's all a story and we're all kind of playing there. But I mean, it's just great. I mean, Drew McIntyre, he really did. He got, I think, the credit that was deserved in a time during the pandemic when wrestling maybe was a little less watched, or maybe it was more watched. I'm not sure. But regardless, he didn't get the title in front of a crowd. And I think this is a great way to kind of showcase him, showcase Rollins. I think if he gets denied this title opportunity, there are big things for him down the road. I think after his match with Gunther and Sheamus at WrestleMania, I think people really kind of saw how strong these guys are. So.
Absolutely, and it's interesting to me. We got a comment here from first Bobby Petito. He's interested to see Seth and Drew at Crown Jewel. I think we all are. But
yes,
we got another one here from Anthony Manzano that's really interesting to me that I cannot wait to answer. What type of bad guy would you say Drew is? Is he one of these narcissistic type guys or delusional type bad guy? I think it may have to be a combination of the two. And I'm going to take this one over right here. You think about what happened with the organic push he got, the way the crowd in Houston at that Royal Rumble, Edge's return was as big as anything. Him eliminating Brock was almost equally as big. And then winning the Rumble and all of the Claymores up on the stage on Brock Lesnar headed into WrestleMania 36. This was definitely something that Drew McIntyre organically got the wave of adoration from the fans. All of a sudden now the pandemic hits and he wins that title in front of no crowd. And he's not had that moment in front of a crowd yet. that is the direction you use to turn him heel. He's got to turn his back on the fans, overlook the fact that it was because of the pandemic, and go, where were you when I did this for you? And that's the type of heel I want to see Drew McIntyre be. I want to see Drew turn on the people that brought him to the dance in the first place and go, where have you been since you've been back? Where were you when I mattered so much? You guys never cared about me, and throw that in the fans' face. And I believe that that will pay off. I think that is as heelish as you can be, too. We haven't seen it in a long time. I don't need him to go town to town and start dissing the local food. I just need him to turn his back on the fans. It's that simple. You guys weren't there for me when I needed you the most, and haven't been since you've been back. And that's all he's got to say, almost. And he's the perfect sadistic heel. That Claymore kick can land and get booed if he does it at the right time, the sneaky way, right? He starts cutting corners. I have no issue with Drew as a heel. In fact, I think it's the proper direction, but I do really, really, really want him to use history to his advantage when this turn happens. That's at least what I think. Would you guys agree with that? Disagree? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree on that. I think that's a good, segue to kind of build him into a heel, and it plays off of history of what it is. It is kind of the honest truth. It seems like he was kind of left on the back burner as soon as stuff opened up all over again, and I mean, I like how his personality is now because he really has a I'm fed up with everything. I just want the title. I want a title, on, on my belt, on my waist, and I think that's just the best way to do it. He's played buddy buddy with a lot of people, and it hasn't helped him out. You only have yourself at the end of this day in his mind, and I think that's a good way to go with it.
I totally agree, and I think as a heel too, with Drew's moveset, it's already stiff enough. It's not a I don't want to say it's not a difficult transition. It always is to change up stylistically between heel and face in wrestling, but it's something that he's very capable of doing. Being that stalking big man, that given the belly to belly that he throws, given the impact of the Claymore, given even the future shock and the Glasgow kiss, they very much can fit both sides of the coin, and I don't think I'll have any problem adjusting to being a heel. With that though, let's talk about, speaking of heels and faces, let's talk about the Viking Raiders, Ivar versus Kofi Kingston of the New Day.
Mm-hmm.
I found this one way more entertaining than I felt like I should have.
Viking rules match also.
Viking rules once again.
Forget that.
Woof. That I'm still not used to the Viking rules yet, but that's not the point. It's not necessarily about that. Honestly, I will admit this myself. Sometimes I forget just how good Kofi Kingston can be when he's locked in. Kofi Kingston is unbelievable in the ring. We don't talk about him enough. I understand he's had some injuries and whatnot the last few years. Kofi Mania was a real thing that really, really mattered. And given Big E's health status, which is I just wish we can either get him on commentary or get him back in wrestling in some capacity, because one of my favorite talents of all time, and that's no knock on Woods either. Woods is Captain Charisma other than Christian Cage, right? He's amazing. But Kofi is somehow overlooked in the New Day. And then you put him in a spot, just a simple one, on Raw against Ivar, and he shows you how really, really, really good he is. Every time. It's just impressive to me to watch his career and how he'll take whatever's handed to him and make the absolute best of it. That's another thing. The power of positivity has been a big part of the New Day's gimmick for a long time. He shows that across the board. And that's what's so cool about Kofi in my eyes. Carter, did you enjoy this one as much as I did?
So I'm coming from GCW Japanese death matches. At the beginning, I thought it started off a little slow, but when I don't know what to call this move, when Ivar was on the top rope and then Kofi came in, grabbed him by the hair, made him do a front flip onto the table. From that point on, I thought it was a freaking absolutely electric match. At the beginning, I know and this was a little bit of our criticism with the PLE, that WWE, especially compared to, as Cardi Cornette would call, outlaw mud shows, is a little safer. So when they do the Extreme Rules, it's kind of, you have the risk of running like the new ECW, and I know the new Viking Rules, like kind of you're risking kind of looking a little childish when you compare it to like Big Japan Wrestling and Game Changer Wrestling, the more extreme outlaw mud show type shows. But it was so much fun. I mean, the once that happened, and then with the Viking girl, I can't remember her name right now, coming out.
Sarah Logan.
Yeah, it was hilarious and fun. And you didn't have to have those crazy thumbtack spots. All you needed is the little Viking shield and a couple table breaks, and some people flying over the barrier. And I thought it was great. I really enjoyed this match, and I know that's coming after some criticisms other people might have of the last PLE main event. Was it was billed as extreme, but those who grew up with ECW and even watching maybe XPW, those kind of super extreme promotions. Yeah, the CZW, let's talk all the outlaw, and then we'll call up my brother. But I mean, I thought that was about as good of a, I guess, Extreme Rules or Viking Rules match as it could be. And I thought it started off a little slow, but that's fine. I mean, it's a wrestling match. It's art, build up to the finale. And what was the final move that Ivar had? It was the backflip off that was incredible. He did like a backflip off the top turnbuckle. It was insane.
I believe it was. Wasn't it a moonsault?
It's a moonsault, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm like, wait a minute. I think it was just a traditional big man moonsault. He went full Vader.
Yeah. He thinks he's Tiffany Stratton, but he's not. He's joking.
I don't know, man. But I mean,
talking BME, we got to mention Christopher Daniels. Speaking of PWG guys, I mean, Christopher Daniels with the best moonsault ever.
I give this Viking Raiders rule 4 stars in the Tokyo Dome.
I love it. I love it. I respect it. Honestly, I think to your point about the slow start, I think it shows you just how talented Kofi is. Knowing how to start a match slow like that, knowing kind of some of the other factors you mentioned about other promotions in the past, stuff you grew up with, our age group, as far as hardcore wrestling. If you start slow, it may feel like the pace is too slow in the beginning, but as long as you get locked in, it makes the rest of the match more impressive. And I think that's a testament to how good Kofi Kingston's ring awareness is. That's something that gets overlooked. I mean, he has wrestled outside of the famous Brock Lesnar squash on the Fox debut. Kofi has basically nailed every big match he's ever been in. But what's more fascinating to me about Kofi Kingston is when he's in a mid-card feud, when he's in something like this, it almost could be considered a throwaway, right? It's 2 tag guys in a singles match, likely leading to another tag match or something. He shows up every time and makes it relevant.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Ivar is making me want to see him become a single superstar. He's starting to make me want to see him as a single superstar, because obviously Eric getting hurt, hope you get better, whatever it may be. This has been very beneficial for Ivar. He's been having very, very good singles matches, and it's just one of those things where you see a guy his size being that agile, being able to move the way he can, being able to do top rope stuff. You put yourself in a whole different like stratosphere in regards to what you can do as an in-ring competitor, as well as just the presentation, the look. He looks like an absolute beast. And I don't want to ever break up a tag team. I think both of them are great tag team superstars, but he's starting to make me want to see him, especially because Raw, we got the big boys, and we're going to talk about that later with another beast of a big man. But you got like him, you got Bronson, you got my man from the Alpha Academy, Otis. Like, to me, him and Bronson are the 2 best big guys at that size, just how they're able to move and go through all that.
Ivar's agility is mind-numbing.
It's
And
crazy.
I don't think I ever realized it too, because there was a time where, you know, you had the Viking Raiders, you had heavy machinery with Otis, you had a number of big guys working in tag spots, and I don't know if I just kind of missed it in Viking Raiders matches, but his agility for his size is almost like Umaga-esque. That's who he reminds
Yes.
me of by comparison
Yes.
to, right? You know, Yokozuna was athletic for his size too. Vader, right, with the moonsault. But the way Umaga's explosiveness, what he would go from 0 to 100 so quickly
Mm-hmm.
for a guy that size. Ivar has a bit of that in a way. And
Similar
I'm not
traits,
saying
yeah.
Bronson Reed doesn't. Bronson Reed reminds me more of a Yoke or a Vader in
Yeah.
that he's athletic for his size, but agility wise, he does move at the pace of a big guy.
I mean,
Ivar has the
he's working
ability
a pace with Kofi, which is crazy.
yeah, Ivar has the ability to turn on the jets in a way that a dude that size just should not. Right? And I think that's, to your point, one of the most impressive things. And Anthony Manzano, not Anthony Manzano, I'm so sorry, Bobby Petito had a great comment here for us. How about a singles match between Ivar and Gunther? That would be fascinating.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
That
Ivar
would
could
be
be in that mid card.
fascinating.
That mid card, like, there's mid card for that IC title is bananas. They got a lot of like sleeper, really good guys in all different type of styles. But yeah, I like that matchup.
Absolutely. I love that call myself. With that, let's talk about some more very, very big and strong characters here in the women's division. Now, on WWE 2K23 GM mode, you may not be able to book Giant versus Giant and have much success. But I didn't mind this in the least, because you've got Giant versus Giant and then another Giant in her own right, Powerhouse, coming in and interfering. Shad, I'm going to toss it straight to you. Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez. What did you think, even with the disqualification finish and Rhea Ripley's run-in?
This is why these Twitter trolls or these X trolls need to just simmer down and be quiet, because all throughout the day yesterday, everyone's like, Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez. This is gonna be a terrible match. It was far from a terrible match. It was actually a pretty good match, and kudos to one. First and foremost, Raquel Rodriguez. I gotta give her flowers, because I think she is a person that is able to low key put really good matches together with different styles. I thought during Ronda Rousey's title reign, I think her best title match was against Raquel. And then you have a person like Nia Jax, who has a history of being a person who is not, throwing banger of matches, or people fear for her style being, very strong and being able to hurt other wrestlers. Raquel is agile enough, strong enough, where she's able to, one, look dominant, being able to lay it in and attack Nia, as well as being strong enough, being able to take the hits from Nia. I think they had a very solid match against each other. I think this is a type of match that's really beneficial for Nia Jax, because the big worry for a lot of people was like, oh, Nia Jax going to come through. They're going to give her the same spiel of booking. And it kind of looked like that in the beginning, where she was taking out people out of the random. Well, she looked strong, but she didn't look super strong to where everybody else, she's inferior to everyone else. So that's the benefit of it. And I love the fact that we're able to create competition and new competitors for our champ, Rhea Ripley. I loved Rhea coming in just upset with Nia Jax messing with her. And of course, we already know she's got her beef with Raquel. And then you add the last element to it. The Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler. Chef's kiss, man. This is one of the most underrated wrestlers, in my opinion, on the women's roster on Raw. You saw how much of a beast she was, and going into the feud with Becky before the pandemic and whatnot. And man, this has me really excited, because Rhea Ripley was missing meaningful feuds. Now you put her in a feud with two people who are within the frame of being a heavyweight to a former champ, and then you have a person in Raquel. I'm definitely excited for it, man. I liked all of it. It was great.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got a bunch of awesome comments too here to add to what you said. That was spot on. Spot on. But numero one Superfly suggested almost the same thing too. Basically, right when you were saying it, which I love. Would you want to see Fatal 4-Way for the women's championship between Rhea, Nia, Raquel, and Shayna? I agree with you. Yes. Yes. That would be an outstanding 4-way. On top of that, Matt Williams with the comment here. Also, the other Viking Raider was in the Highlanders, right? Or am I tripping? LOL. You are tripping, Matt Williams. He was not in the Highlanders. Those are totally, that was Robbie and Rory McAllister, totally different guys. Another comment here from Matt Williams. Any idea why they couldn't keep the name War Machine? I can actually answer this one. Ivar comes from the same wrestling school as Kofi. The reason they couldn't keep the name War Machine was because of the UFC fighter John Copenhaver. He committed some pretty horrifying crimes and ended up going to prison. And yeah, so that was why the guy legally changed his name to War Machine around the same time that they were called War Machine, and the reason why that's the reason they dropped the name. The other one that I was going to show is I would be interested from Bobby Petito. I would be interested in a match between Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, Raquel Rodriguez, and Nia Jax. Absolutely. Fatal 4-Way. I'm 100% in. And but let's move on. Love this women's division topic. Absolutely. But we also did have, speaking of a name we've already mentioned today, Bronson Reed against Gable and Ricochet. Big man, two little guys. This was a fun one too. Carter, how'd you like this one?
I mean, when 2 out of 3 guys are in wrestling singlets, it's going to be a good match. No, it's fantastic. I think Shad was kind of referencing it earlier that you have this mid-card intercontinental, kind of the Gunther challengers. You got a lot of fun here, and I think it's time for a new challenger for Gunther. I love to see Gable. Gable versus Gunther was a great rivalry, but we kind of know who came out on top. It was Mr. Walter, but no, it was just fun. I mean, Bronson Reed's a guy who's I'm relatively newly familiar with, and I love him already. He's like, I'm an Alpha Academy guy, so I wish Otis was this powerful and this dominating, but I think they're doing a great job of building up Bronson Reed. It was super fun. Great idea to throw Ricochet in there as a third, just flying around, for Chad Gable to kind of suplex him and do some dudes getting sandwich type moves. I just thought it was a super fun match. Great way to build up the mid card. I mean, so Bronson Reed versus Gunther, we have that for the Intercontinental title. That's going to be very interesting. And the question I still kind of ask myself is who's going to be the one to dethrone Gunther? I don't know if it's going to be Bronson, although if you're booking like us in 2K, you might have the title change randomly on a Monday. But no, I think they're just doing a good job of building up challengers for Gunther, the big man, kind of that Otis, that the Ivar kind of big boy. And it's a beautiful thing to see guys that move around like NFL defensive linemen in the WWE. It's just it's great. Cardi Cornette would say it's real wrestling. And who can complain about that?
Absolutely. I love it. I'm with you. And we got a couple more comments here. Don't worry, Anthony Manzano. I did not forget your comments. I was waiting. He goes, Anthony Manzano, off topic just a little bit, but did you guys see the rumors apparently that Jimmy Uso is going to get kicked out of the bloodline and they're going to bring in Braun Breaker as his replacement? I did not hear that rumor. We try not to address dirt sheet reports here on Wrestling Republic, so I don't know where that rumor came from. If it's just a suggestion, that's kind of a fun idea. Be interesting. I mean, Braun Breaker's not a member of the bloodline, traditionally speaking, by blood.
No spray tan on. He
little spray tan.
Yeah, he's
could be
there.
Funny. I mean, yes, he's a multi-generational talent, but I doubt that's one that we end up seeing. But with that, let's do move on to our next segment, which is Ben's favorite, Tegan Knox against Becky Lynch. Big time Bex, not maybe big time Bex, the man, the myth, Becky Lynch. Shad, did you love this one? This was, I thought, I hate to say it because I hate criticizing the women's division. I thought this was kind of a low point in the show personally, but I don't even need to get into that too much.
I mean, so I don't consider it a low point per se. I think they did a solid job trying to create buzz around Tegan Knox, and you're kind of giving her an opportunity, giving her an identity more than anything. I mean, we haven't really seen her in any form of the show these last few months. So you kind of give a little bit of a backstory of what she's gone through, obviously during the triumphs and tribulations of her career, overcoming injuries, which is great. And I like the, I like the presentation of that. The match was okay. It wasn't an amazing match. It was a solid match. I think Tegan kind of struggled a little bit to work on the pace with Becky. I think Becky definitely had to be the ring general that she is and kind of lead through it all. But I think it did show a little bit of the main roster fans on Monday Night Raw who Tegan Knox is and what you can expect from her. The one thing I didn't like about it is I do not like this whole Natalya and her tag team ship. I think Natalya is starting to kind of it's super weird. It's an awkward team. They don't really mesh well together, like aesthetically, personality wise, style wise. I don't get it, but it is what it is. We're gonna get a lot of women within this tag team title picture. What I want to talk about is the best wrestler in professional wrestling right now, and that is Miss Rebecca Quinn, Becky Lynch, the best female wrestler, and she's my favorite wrestler just in general right now because she is creating a strong argument of why we need maybe a mid-card title on the main roster, but she's putting so many people in great positions with this NXT run. And I said it last Tuesday, and I'm going to say it again tonight. Becky Lynch is the most dominant women's champion in professional wrestling, like especially on the 3 shows, and she has the, you know, developmental belt, but her reign means way more than what Rhea's doing and what Io's doing. They've obviously are positioned in these matches with higher marquee names, but it doesn't feel important because all the storylines are redundant or the matches don't lead to anything. She's a fighting champion. She's fighting anybody, whether it be a newcomer on NXT or a person who needs, TV time on the main roster. And it just really adds a new element to the belt, to the vision of what NXT can do. She's bringing more eyes to people to want to watch NXT, especially tonight. I'm loving it, man. Becky is my favorite wrestler at the moment. I'm a Becky Lynch stan. Tiffany's still the GOAT, but Becky Lynch is probably doing some of the best work I've seen her doing in years. So yeah.
I completely agree. And this is where I get hung up though, is like Becky is so great. And as you mentioned, her title reign seems more valuable than Ripley's or Io's.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's positive. It's almost a disservice. Her star power is so huge and it doesn't matter. She's made the NXT title the most important of the women's titles because it's Becky Lynch. It's like Tom Brady going from the Patriots to the Bucks. Which quarterback room becomes more important? Tampa Bay. Like
right.
it's the same concept there. And I think it almost, in a way, without her being in the main event scene of either main card title, does a disservice to the 2 performers carrying those belts, because there's an easy logical complaint to make about Ripley not defending that belt. Not only not very often, but almost never.
Right.
And then Io Sky's against the same rotation of women's challengers that she's been feuding with for now 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you, but the outlier of both of their reigns is the booking towards it.
I agree.
We have Io and we talk about it every Friday when we do our show, But Io is booked back on the corner because she's booked in a storyline that's never getting finished. She's in a faction that we don't know if they're gonna break up or not. The money feud for her is Bailey. We need to get over that hump before she can have any more of a reign. That's literally like a wedge in the road that she can't go to the highway and drive off of a dominant title reign, which sucks because we know how dominant of a champ she's been prior in Stardom and then what she's done on NXT. Rhea, it's usage. She's more of a manager than she is a wrestler. The figure and character of Rhea Ripley is probably one of the most, I won't say more over than Becky Lynch, but probably a notch below Becky at the moment. They're probably the two most over women on the rosters. But like you said, she's not wrestling anybody. So you're not really a title. You're more just a placeholder for the belt for the Judgment Day. And I mean, those are dominant factions or popular factions, but it doesn't do a lot for you. It's the same thing you can complain about Roman and the Bloodline.
Absolutely. I'm with you. And speaking of Roman and the Bloodline, we've got one Bloodline member in our next segment. And I'm going to introduce this one. And I'm going to actually go solo camera here. And this is for a good friend of mine, Ben Allison. Because he always complains about me complaining about Cody. And I'm going to do it again. Look at this match on paper that they're setting up. Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. And this is supposed to be the tag team division. This is a fatal four-way for a world title. And we've been complaining. And when I say we, not necessarily I, yes, I've levied some complaints, but Ben Allison, my good friend himself, has levied complaints about who can challenge Seth Rollins. All four singles competitors that are tied up in this weird, goofy tag team can they coexist storyline that's gone on for far too long. I get Sammy and Kevin are best friends in real life, but that's who can. All four, same roster. We've got Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. That's four Seth Rollins rivalries that are off the charts, but they're hung up on the tag titles. And not only that, Jay's got one over on his brother, which is just telegraphing our WrestleMania 40, I'm better than you, but you were the most likely to succeed in high school and the prom king, that we're going to tell for the match in Philly, Uso versus Uso, which is a singles match and has nothing to do with these tag team titles that we've hung up. We talked about awesome tag teams in this division earlier in the show. We saw them earlier in the show. We see them all the time. There's got to be a tag team division in the world heavyweight title division. And hanging up four of your best superstars, four of the best on your roster, four of your most logical challengers for Seth Rollins makes no sense in the world to me, and it never has. I don't get it. These mix and match tag teams, they haven't even gone out of their way to make sense of Cody and Jay. Why are they friends? They didn't even get along at first. I don't get it. I don't get it one bit. The guy messed him around in April. Jay interfered in the biggest match of Cody's career in this calendar year. And now all of a sudden they're buddy for what? For why? It's too telegraphed. It's too obvious. And it bugs me to death because they're four of my favorite wrestlers on the roster. And they all four deserve better. All four have earned a better spot than this. Even though it's main event level material, we might see a tag match in a main event at a pay-per-view or a PLE here in the near future. It's all four. Cody, Jay, Owens, and Zayn deserve better than this. It does not make sense unless you just know what's going to happen. And we don't like spoilers or dirt sheets here at Wrestling Republic. It's bugging me to death. So, in the words of the great Cody Rhodes, guys, what do you want to talk about? I'm going to toss it to you first, Shad.
No, I mean, so I see eye to eye with you on a lot of this because I'm one person that I do not like makeshift tag teams. It bugs me. If there's no, I'm from the school where we used to have tag teams that were tag teams, right? Like you know them as the tag teams. You don't know it as, oh, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. No, they're not a tag team. The Usos are a tag team, but these two are two different, individual stars. And I knew that they were gonna beat the Judgment Day at the PLE just because of it's Cody Rhodes in a match. He's not gonna lose it. They're gonna find a way not for them to lose it. And it made me upset just thinking about it because I was like, man, the Judgment Day are an actual faction. It makes sense for these guys to be the tag teams. KO and Sammy, they have a whole upbringing together. They have a dynamic as brothers. They make sense as a tag team. And I feel like it does, in a sense, bring disservice to the division because you have a ton of people on that roster that are actual tag teams. And there is no chance for them to, in the intermediate future, to logically or making the sense of them being the tag team champs, just because it's an OP team, man. You got the person that we think is going to dethrone Roman Reigns, and another guy who could possibly dethrone Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso, who's one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. It makes it difficult, and I don't really. The storyline for this has always been redundant. The main event is a revolving door of Cody, now Jey Uso, but KO, Sammy, and the Judgment Day. It'll probably lead to something like that. I just want to see something different be built for it. If these two are to be a tag team, well, let's give them an actual tag team run. Let's put them against different tag team wrestlers on the roster. Give them an Imperium matchup. Give them an Alpha Academy matchup. Like, let's not just keep this revolving door. So the match was great. It's always going to be great. But yeah, storyline wise, it isn't as appealing to me. And it wasn't my favorite thing from last night. So yeah.
100%. I'm glad you agreed. I was nervous that everyone was going to disagree with me on this one. And we even have Bobby Petito in the comments with all four deserve betters. Yes, Bobby, I'm with you. Carter, are you on the same page as me and Shad with this one?
A little bit. So for all our listeners, if you've ever used the word Rosita boy, I'm a Rosita boy. I grew up. There's a picture. I should send it to Ben. There's a picture of me as a little kid watching El Generico in a high school basketball gym. So Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I mean, it's like Shad was talking about. You like a tag team to have a theme. I can't imagine a more beautiful theme than from the indies all the way up to main eventing WrestleMania. I mean, I love that tag team, but I do have the same criticism. You have this great tag team. Where do you go from here? You kind of have these two, Cody and Jey, are kind of, together. It's kind of a weird mismatch, and there's just, I don't know. I feel like the tag team booking right now is just lacking some storyline. I mean, I would have loved to see Owens and Zayn walk away with the titles and then go on to all the New Day and the Viking Raiders. And I mean, there's so many like themed tag teams where we could start to have fun challenges and stuff. And it feels like you're getting Judgment Day and Owens and Sami Zayn, and it's the same thing over and over again. And people they get tired of it. I mean, it's not Dragunov and Gunther. I could watch that 86 times, but sorry, that was kind of random. But no, I mean, it's just, you have four great singles wrestlers. Kevin Owens could be a great singles wrestler. El Generico was one of the greatest indie wrestlers of all time. So
Sammy is a great singles wrestler.
It's time to kind of break these boys out and book it a little better. And I don't know, maybe there should be a trios champ. No, I'm joking about that. But the tag team booking at the top seems to be lacking. I think the mid-card booking at Raw, it felt a little stronger today. That being said, though, I thought it was a great match. I thought it was a fun match, good finish, real wrestling,
for
as
sure.
Cornette likes to say. So
for sure. And one thing, we got another comment from Anthony Manzano. We've got right here. I see what you guys are saying, but I disagree a little bit because maybe they're setting up a feud between Cody, Jey, Kevin, and Sammy. We've seen Kevin and Sammy 11 times. At least like 100 times. I love it, but let's make it more special again.
They lost clear last night, though. Why do I need to extend the feud
for WrestleMania? And that's where Kevin turns on Sammy. Maybe I don't know, man. I think Sami Zayn
for the 500th time he's gonna turn on him.
Yeah, it's been a lot of turns. these guys have gotten so over organically. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's time for. I don't think Kevin and Sammy need to have a traditional break. I think they need to both have separate singles runs that has nothing to do with their friendship for the time being, given where they're at and what they did main eventing night one. I also don't think that they need to main event. The tag team titles need to main event another Mania for a while. We need to elevate one of the two main roster women's titles to at least main event night one, if not night two. And I think that's priority number one. With that though, it's been a blast. If you guys haven't already liked and subscribed, please do it. It helps us out immensely. Thank you so much for all the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take a deep breath and take a break, because in a mere 6 hours and 13 minutes from now, actually it's 6 hours and 28 minutes from now, me and Shad will be live, Wrestling Republic, off the air.
Tuesday Night Wars, baby.
Tuesday night time. Please join, accompanied by Drizzy Carter. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are the man as always. Shad, thank you. Bobby Batito, Anthony Manzano, numero one Superfly, everyone in the comments, thank you so much, and have an awesome Tuesday. See you guys in about 6 hours and 27 minutes now. Talk to you soon.